The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. I am Fionn, 46, and I work as a software architect for a tech firm in Austin, Texas. Usually I love the rain the way it smells, the way it cleanses everything. But tonight it just mirrored the storm brewing inside me. My life with Isolde had always seemed like a dream. We met at a coffee shop downtown, both reaching for the same book, a collection of poetry by Rilke. Corny, I know, but it felt like fate. We married 3 years later in a small ceremony overlooking Lake Travis. Isolde, with her fiery red hair and infectious laugh, was everything I thought I ever wanted. She was a kindergarten teacher, patient and kind, and I admired her dedication to her students. We bought a house in the suburbs, a cozy 3-bedroom with a big backyard for the golden retriever we planned to get someday. We were building a life, brick by brick, or so I thought. The first crack in the facade appeared about 6 months ago. Isolde started working late, claiming she had to prepare lesson plans and grade papers. I didn't think much of it at first. Teaching is a demanding job, and I trusted her implicitly. But then the late nights became more frequent, and her explanations grew vaguer. She started taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom, and would jump if I got close to it. I tried to shrug it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. But the gnawing feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. One evening, Isolde said she had to attend a mandatory teacher's workshop. It was a Saturday, which seemed odd, but I didn't question it. I decided to use the free time to catch up on some work and maybe watch a movie. I went to the kitchen to grab a beer. As I opened the fridge, I saw Isolde's purse sitting on the counter. I don't know what possessed me, but I reached for it. I never went through her things. Never. But tonight was different. The feeling that something was terribly wrong was too strong to ignore. Inside her purse, buried beneath a pile of receipts and makeup, was a small velvet box. My heart pounded in my chest as I opened it. It was a ring, a beautiful diamond ring, much more expensive than anything I could afford. It wasn't an engagement ring, but it was definitely a statement piece. A statement of something I didn't understand. My hands trembled as I closed the box and put it back in her purse. I felt like I was going to be sick. Who gave her this ring? Why was she hiding it from me? The next few hours were a blur. I paced around the house trying to make sense of what I had found. I couldn't shake the image of that ring sparkling in the dim light of the kitchen. I knew I had to confront Isolde, but I didn't know how. I decided to wait until she got home, hoping she would offer an explanation. But deep down, I knew the explanation wouldn't be good. Isolde came home late, around 11 p.m. She looked tired, but she smiled when she saw me. "Hey, honey," she said, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. Long day at the workshop, I forced a smile back. "How was it?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, you know," she said, shrugging. "Lots of lectures and group activities. Pretty boring, actually." I nodded, my mind racing. I wanted to blurt out everything, to demand answers. But I held back, trying to stay calm. "Isolde," I said, taking a deep breath, "I need to ask you something. I found something in your purse." Her eyes widened slightly. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice a little too high-pitched. "A ring," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "A diamond ring. Who gave it to you?" Her face paled. She didn't say anything for a long moment, and then she started to stammer. "I can explain," she said, her voice trembling. "Then explain," I said, my voice hardening. "Tell me who gave you that ring." She looked down at the floor, avoiding my gaze. It's from a friend," she said finally. "A friend." I repeated, my voice incredulous. "What kind of friend gives you a diamond ring like that?" She hesitated, then blurted out, "It's from Colm. He's just a friend from work. He felt bad because I've been working so hard, so he got me a little gift." Colm. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Colm was a fellow teacher at Isolde's school. I had met him a few times at school events. He was always a little too friendly with Isolde, always lingering a little too long when they talked. I had dismissed it as just friendly banter, but now it all made sense. "Colm," I said, my voice rising. "You're telling me that Colm gave you a diamond ring, and you expect me to believe that it's the truth?" she insisted, her eyes pleading. "He's just a friend. Nothing more." I stared at her, trying to gauge whether she was telling the truth. But I could see the lies in her eyes, the fear and guilt that she couldn't hide. I knew in that moment that everything I thought I knew about my wife was a lie. "I don't believe you," I said, my voice cold. I think you're having an affair with Colm, she gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. No, she cried, that's not true. How can you say that? Because it's the only thing that makes sense, I said, my voice shaking with anger. You've been lying to me for months. You've been working late, hiding your phone, and now this ring. It all adds up. She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. Please, Fionn, she sobbed, you have to believe me. I would never do anything to hurt you, but I couldn't believe her. The trust was gone, shattered into a million pieces. I turned away from her, unable to look at her any longer. I need you to leave, I said, my voice flat. I need you to leave now. She looked at me, her eyes filled with despair. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. I don't care, I said. Just go. She didn't argue. She grabbed her purse and ran out of the house, slamming the door behind her. I stood there in silence, the rain pounding against the windows, feeling like my world had just come crashing down. The next few weeks were a living hell. Isolde moved in with her sister in Dallas. I stayed in the house, surrounded by memories of our life together. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I could barely function. I called in sick to work, spending my days staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of that night over and over in my head. I knew I needed to find out the truth about Isolde and Colm. I couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer, so I hired a private investigator. His name was Ansel, a gruff, middle-aged man with a no-nonsense attitude. I told him everything, showed him the ring, and gave him Colm's name and address. He promised to get to the bottom of it. 3 days later, Ansel called me. I've got something for you, he said, his voice grim. Meet me at my office. I drove to Ansel's office, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew whatever he had to tell me wouldn't be good. Ansel led me into his office and closed the door. He sat down behind his desk and opened a file. I've been following your wife and Colm, he said, his voice flat. They've been seeing each other for months. They meet at a hotel downtown every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. He handed me a stack of photos. I stared at them in disbelief. There was Isolde and Colm holding hands, kissing, entering the hotel. The photos were explicit, undeniable. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. There's more, Ansel said, his voice grave. I also found out that Colm is married. His wife's name is Elowen. She doesn't know about the affair. I felt a surge of anger, hotter and more intense than anything I had ever felt before. Not only had Isolde betrayed me, but she had also helped Colm betray his wife. They were both despicable. I want you to tell Elowen, I said, my voice shaking. She deserves to know the truth, Ansel nodded. I can do that, he said. But are you sure you want to go down this road? It's going to get messy. I don't care, I said. I want them both to pay for what they've done. Ansel contacted Elowen and arranged a meeting. I didn't go with him, but he told me everything that happened. Elowen was devastated, of course. She had no idea that her husband was cheating on her. She thanked Ansel for telling her the truth and said she was going to confront Colm immediately. I don't know exactly what happened between Elowen and Colm, but I heard through the grapevine that she kicked him out of the house and filed for divorce. His life was in shambles. He lost his wife, his house, and his reputation. He was a pariah at the school, and he eventually resigned. As for Isolde, she tried to contact me several times, begging me to forgive her. She said she made a mistake, that she was sorry, that she still loved me. But I couldn't forgive her. The trust was gone, and I knew I could never look at her the same way again. I filed for divorce, and it was finalized a few months later. It was a painful process, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I sold the house and moved into a small apartment downtown. I started going to therapy to deal with the emotional fallout of the betrayal. It took a long time, but eventually I started to heal. I realized that Isolde's actions were not a reflection of me, but a reflection of her own character. I learned to forgive myself for not seeing the signs, for trusting her too much. And I learned that even after the most devastating betrayals, it is possible to rebuild your life and find happiness again. One day, about a year after the divorce, I was at the coffee shop where Isolde and I first met. I was reading a book just like I was that day. And then I saw her. She looked different, older and sadder. She saw me too, and our eyes met. She hesitated for a moment, then walked over to my table. Fionn, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Can I talk to you for a minute? I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. She sat down across from me and took a deep breath. I just wanted to say that I am sorry, she said, her eyes filled with tears. I know it doesn't mean much, but I truly am sorry for what I did to you. I ruined everything and I'll never forgive myself." I looked at her, trying to find some trace of the woman I once loved. But all I saw was regret and pain. I realized that she was suffering too in her own way. And in that moment I felt a flicker of compassion for her. "I know," I said, my voice soft. "I know you are." We talked for a few more minutes about the divorce, about our lives, about the future. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. It was a way for us to finally close that chapter of our lives and move on. As she got up to leave, she turned to me and said, "I hope you find happiness, Fionn. You deserve it." I smiled. "I hope you do too, Isolde," I said. And then she was gone. I watched her walk away, and I knew that I would never see her again. But I also knew that I was finally free. Free from the pain, free from the anger, free from the betrayal. I was ready to start a new chapter in my life, a chapter filled with hope and possibility. I eventually met someone new, a wonderful woman named Muriel who loved me for who I was. We got married last year and we are expecting our first child. I finally got that golden retriever I always wanted. Life isn't perfect, but it's good, and I am grateful for every moment. Betrayal can break you, but it can also make you stronger. It can teach you valuable lessons about yourself and about life. And it can lead you to a place of healing and forgiveness, where you can finally find peace and happiness. Remember, even when the storm seems never-ending, the sun will eventually come out again. You just have to keep holding on. Summary. Fionn, a software architect from Austin, Texas, thought he had the perfect life with his wife, Isolde, a kindergarten teacher. But his world crumbles when he discovers a diamond ring in her purse, a gift from her colleague, Colm. As Fionn investigates, he uncovers a full-blown affair, leading to a devastating divorce and the exposure of Colm's infidelity to his own wife, Elowen. Though heartbroken, Fionn finds the strength to rebuild his life, eventually finding love again with Muriel. This story highlights the profound pain of betrayal and the resilient journey to healing and forgiveness. Hold on, the sun will eventually come out again.